How can we sing when we're in a strange land? How can we face adversity? Oh, how can we stand in the midst of trouble when the enemy laughs at our beliefs?
We have been going through so many changes lately that some people might be thinking about giving up. But do you remember in the scriptures where it says that despite what you've gone through, it is not anywhere comparable to what Jesus suffered for you and me? And so, as to prepare a way of escape for the entire human race, if they should decide to accept the terms of this salvation plan, so don't faint in the day of adversity, which would indicate that your strength is small. Today's sermon is based on Psalm 137, verses 1 through 6, which addresses how the Hebrew captives must have felt when they were down by the rivers of Babylon. But to better understand it, we should first be familiar with what a prequel is. A prequel is the story before the main story, or in other words, the backstory. So for example, according to Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But the answer as to what comes before that is found in other scriptures, like Satan's overblown ambition, which is found in Isaiah 14:12, like the punishment of those angels who tried to step out of line, found in Jude 1:6. And to learn about the day when God celebrated and declared Jesus, "Thou art my son, today have I begotten thee," which is in Hebrews 1:5. Those pieces of information are found in other scriptures which serve as prequels to Genesis 1:1. But enough explaining. Let's get you to the word. Down by the rivers of Babylon.
How can we stand in the midst of trouble when the enemy laughs at our beliefs? Won't you take some time to realize you're his own? That's why he died.
I know this life may not be easy.
By the rivers of Babylon. By the rivers of Babylon. One of my favorite movies of all time is the movie Roots, which is the dramatized version of the lives of author Alex Haley's African ancestors. And one of the characters to watch is Kunta Kinte. He had been a free African native adolescent in Gambia, on that one continent of many nations, some hostile to one another. When the slave trappers came in, Kunta was already undergoing his manhood training and had learned self-defense from interacting with Wrestler, the fight trainer. When the slave catchers came to his village, he was captured because some Africans, probably from hostile neighboring villages and evidently others of his own fellows, betrayed him. The scene where he is first captured is very dramatic. He is tracked down while selecting wood to make a drum for his younger brother. He was trying to honor a request of his mother's when it happened. Kunta was surrounded and trapped, then restrained using a thick rope which looped around his neck like a noose collar, had another section which served as manacles on his wrists, and probably employed another thick rope which functioned as an anchor and was evidently connected to the ground in a T formation, like the kind which is used to teach a young elephant to stay put by placing a stake in the ground. But still Kunta thrashed futilely against those restraints which had been placed on him, hoping to tear them to bits as Samson, while at the height of his strength and powers, had torn heavy ropes as if they were flimsy thread. Oh, how he did struggle mightily, but to no avail. He had run fast, but so were they quick who pursued him. and he was packed into a slave ship with other cargo captives, and after a difficult voyage from the motherland to colonial America, he was auctioned off a slave. And then they introduced the violence of the whip to bend his will and further traumatized Kunta into forgetting the G-rated happily ever after mental movies of his carefree youth. And they sought to force him to renounce his true identity by having Lou Gossett Jr.'s character, the slave handler, call him Toby instead of Kunta. "Your name is Toby now," that character Fiddler declared. "You're in America now, boy." That name, Toby, held no cultural significance or ancestral meaning for Kunta. So at first, he rejected it until he was beaten half to death, and then he relented. Could you imagine the thoughts which ran through his head whenever he found himself close to an area from which he could escape to return to the motherland, to again encounter and discover the place of his fondest dreams when he, for example, stood by the water's edge from which he could hope to discover the port through which he could pass to return to the place of his nascent freedom and find his family again? And here, as the curtain is raised for the start of this chapter, the psalmist's words seem empowered by this sort of a thought. When he, in setting this scene, dips his quill in the ink and recounts what took place by the rivers of Babylon, in a manner which is somewhat similar to what Kunta experienced in Roots. The Bible's Daniel and the 3 Hebrews were young men who, while in captivity, were renamed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and also suffered indignities in being removed from their homeland. They of a ready aptitude in the sciences, a proficiency in the learning of languages, and of excellent demeanors, who were able to shine forth even during captivity in Babylon. However, they arrived where they were through no fault of their own, because, in a manner of speaking, it was their fathers who had sinned in eating sour grapes, and that resulted in these sons' teeth being set on edge by the rivers of Babylon. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept, when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, "Sing us one of the songs of Zion." How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy, by the rivers of Babylon, by the rivers of Babylon.
Thank you for joining Plain Path Church today for service. Won't you take some time to realize that you're on the winning side? Have a blessed week, saints.
We know this life may not be easy, but when you're all alone, in your weakness is strong. So let your song ring out, and let your voice sing it loud. If you know that Christ is singing in you, then the song that you sing will never end. If you're asking how can we sing when we're in a strange land, how can we face adversity? Oh, how can we stand in the midst of trouble when the enemy laughs at our beliefs? Won't you take some time to realize why he does.